They were the sweethearts of the 60s, the three beautiful sisters who made Petticoat Junction a television legend. But behind the laughter and the catchy theme song lies a story of forgotten paths and bittersweet endings. Time has been a cruel conductor for some while, others found peace far from the spotlight. Brace yourself as we reveal the shocking transformations and the tear-jerking legacies left behind today. Benaderet as Kate Bradley. Born on April 4, 1906, in New York City. New York, this radio pioneer and voice-acting legend finally stepped into the spotlight as the gentle but strong-willed owner of the Shady Rest Hotel. At the age of 57, Benaderet's portrayal of the rural matriarch became the heart of Hooterville, providing a grounded maternal warmth amidst the show's slapstick comedy. Her performance helped secure the show's place as a massive hit in the rural purge era of television, proving she was more than capable of carrying a series after years of supporting roles. Despite playing the archetype of a simple country woman, Benaderet was actually a sophisticated urban professional with a background in San Francisco radio and a reputation as the queen of voiceovers for her work with Warner Brothers cartoons. Her career was defined by the frustration of constantly being the second banana, famously turning down the role of Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy due to a prior commitment only to spend years supporting others on The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show. By the time she achieved leading lady status, she faced the professional and physical hardship of filming a weekly sitcom while secretly battling a terminal illness, often needing to shoot scenes from a seated position to conceal her fatigue. Benaderet passed away during the show's run on October 13, 1968, at the age of 62 due to lung cancer and pneumonia. Her death marked a turning point for the series. Although it continued for 2 more seasons, the loss of its central mother figure created a void that could not be filled. In a poignant and tragic postscript to her life, her husband, sound effects technician Gene Twombly, died of a heart attack just 4 days after her passing, and the couple was laid to rest together at Valhalla Memorial Park Cemetery in North Hollywood. Edgar Buchanan as Uncle Joe Carson. Born on March 20, 1903 in Humansville, Missouri. Buchanan had established a steady career in Western films before settling onto the porch of the Shady Rest Hotel. At the age of 60, his portrayal of the indolent, scheme-hatching Uncle Joe Carson became the comedic anchor of Petticoat Junction. As the only cast member to appear in all 222 episodes of the series, as well as crossing over into Green Acres and the Beverly Hillbillies, he cemented the image of the lovable, raspy-voiced country curmudgeon in the American consciousness, turning a lazy character into an endearing cultural icon. In stark contrast to the work-shy, uneducated character who spent his days avoiding chores and napping, Edgar Buchanan was a highly educated and industrious professional who held a degree in dentistry and ran a successful practice with his wife before turning to acting full-time. While Uncle Joe was always looking for the easy way out, Buchanan was known for his sharp intelligence and dedication to his craft. Professionally, however, his distinctive gravelly voice and physical appearance led to severe typecasting, often confining him to sidekick roles or rural archetypes. The end of his run as Uncle Joe was also marred by industry shifts. The show's cancellation in 1970 was part of the network's infamous Rural Purge, a sweeping move that unceremoniously discarded popular country-themed shows, leaving veteran actors of the genre fighting for relevance in a rapidly modernizing television landscape. Edgar Buchanan continued to act following the sitcom's demise, securing a regular role as a police sergeant on the crime drama Cades County, alongside Glenn Ford, and making a memorable appearance in the 1974 hit movie, Benji. However, his health began to decline later in the decade. Edgar Buchanan passed away in Palm Desert, California on April 4, 1979, at the age of 76, following a stroke complicated by pneumonia. He was interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles, leaving behind a legacy as a versatile character actor who successfully transitioned from a medical career to becoming one of television's most recognizable faces. Meredith MacRae as Billie Jo Bradley. Born on May 30th, 1944 in Houston, Texas. She was the daughter of Hollywood legends Gordon and Sheila MacRae and joined the cast of Petticoat Junction in 1966. At the age of 22, MacRae took over the role of the eldest Bradley daughter, becoming the third and final actress to play the part, and quickly made it her own. She brought a distinctive warmth, intelligence, and musical talent to the character often singing on the show. Her portrayal anchored the trio of sisters at the Shady Rest Hotel during the show's transition to color, helping to maintain the series' status as a ratings hit and a beloved piece of 1960s Americana. While Billie Jo was often portrayed as the boy-crazy, aspiring singer of the family, Meredith MacRae was an intensely intellectual and grounded individual who held a Bachelor of Arts degree from UCLA. Her professional journey faced a sudden shock in 1970 due to the infamous Rural Purge, where CBS abruptly canceled Petticoat Junction and other country-themed shows in a bid to attract urban demographics, despite the series still having solid ratings. This cancellation left MacRae and her castmates fighting against the industry stigma attached to Hooterville actors, making it difficult to transition into serious dramatic roles immediately following the show's demise. Meredith MacRae successfully reinvented herself as a television host and producer, spending 8 years co-hosting Mid-Morning Los Angeles, for which she won a local Emmy Award. She remained active in the industry through game show appearances and voiceover work, while dedicating significant energy to charitable organizations like the League of Women Voters and the American Cancer Society. Tragically, she began suffering from memory loss and headaches in 1999, leading to a diagnosis of stage 4 brain cancer. Meredith MacRae passed away at her home in Manhattan Beach, California, on July 14, 2000 at the age of 56. Her premature death was a shock to the entertainment community, leading to the creation of a scholarship fund in her honor to support aspiring writers and performers. Linda Henning as Betty Jo Bradley. Born on September 16, 1944 in Los Angeles, California, she stepped into the spotlight as the daughter of the show's creator, Paul Henning. At the age of 19, Linda Henning began her tenure as Betty Jo Bradley, the sensible and sweet middle daughter at the Shady Rest Hotel. She holds the unique distinction of being the only cast member to appear in all 222 episodes throughout the series' 7-year run, providing a stable anchor as other cast members came and went. Her portrayal became synonymous with the show's wholesome rural charm, and her distinctive voice made her a standout, contributing to the show's enduring popularity as a staple of 1960s television. While Betty Jo was the quintessential girl next door, Henning faced professional hurdles unique to her situation, specifically the stigma of nepotism. Being the creator's daughter meant she often felt the need to work harder to prove her merit to critics and peers who assumed she was merely handed the role. She also underwent a physical transformation for the part, dyeing her natural blonde hair red for the entire run to distinguish her character from her on-screen sisters. Following the Rural Purge that swept CBS in the early 1970s, the show was abruptly canceled to make way for urban-centric programming. Henning found herself typecast by the very role that made her famous, making the transition to adult roles in a rapidly modernizing Hollywood landscape difficult. Linda Henning continued to work sporadically in the entertainment industry, notably becoming a frequent panelist on Match Game during the 1970s and securing a recurring role on the sci-fi series Sliders in the 1990s. Her personal life mirrored her on-screen narrative when she married Mike Minor, the actor who played her character's husband, Steve Elliott. However, the marriage ended in divorce after 5 years. She later remarried and eventually stepped away from the limelight to focus on a more private life. At 81, she is retired and living quietly in Southern California, occasionally attending conventions to celebrate the legacy of the show, where she served as the only constant presence among the Bradley sisters. Saunders as Bobbie Jo Bradley. Born on October 4, 1941 in Kansas City, Missouri, the actress, originally named Linda Marie Hines, joined the cast of Petticoat Junction in 1965, replacing Pat Woodell. At the age of 23, Saunders stepped into the role of the middle Bradley sister, bringing a comedic, slightly dizzy yet warm-hearted energy that distinguished her from her predecessor. For 5 seasons, her portrayal of the boy-crazy yet bookish Bobbie Jo became a staple of the Hooterville universe, contributing to the show's massive popularity as a wholesome rural escapist comedy during a turbulent decade in American history. While Bobbie Jo was a simple country girl, Laurie Saunders was an intensely spiritual and artistic individual, deeply involved in meditation and vegetarianism long before they were mainstream. Her professional journey was marked by a unique identity struggle. She was forced to change her screen name from Linda to Laurie because her co-star Linda K. Henning had dibs on the name. Furthermore, her career faced the brunt of the rural purge in the early 1970s, where networks canceled popular country-themed shows to chase urban demographics. This left Saunders somewhat typecast, leading her to roles in similar but less successful projects like Dusty's Trail, effectively a Western version of Gilligan's Island, before she eventually stepped away from the industry. Laurie Saunders retired from acting in 1980 to focus on her family and her passion for fine arts. She has remained married to her husband Bernard Sandler since 1961, a rare feat of longevity in Hollywood. At 84, she is a celebrated sculptor and painter living a quiet and private life in Southern California. She remains a dedicated activist for animal rights and environmental causes, having successfully transitioned from a television star to a fulfilled artist far removed from the spotlight of Hooterville. Jeannine Riley as Billie Jo Bradley. Born on October 1, 1940 in Fresno, California, the actress beat out over 300 competitors to land the role of the eldest Bradley sister. At the age of 22, Riley's portrayal of the flirtatious and book-smart Billie Jo Bradley helped launch Petticoat Junction into a major rating success, capitalizing on the 1960s rural comedy craze. As one of the trio of beautiful sisters swimming in the Shady Rest Hotel's water tower, she became an instant pin-up symbol, and her character's sophisticated yet wholesome charm provided a key dynamic in the show's early popularity. While Billie Jo was often depicted as a man magnet content with life in Hooterville, Jeannine Riley was a serious, method-trained actress from the Pasadena Playhouse who harbored ambitions far beyond rural sitcoms. This ambition drove a wedge between her and the show. She found the role limiting and left after just 2 seasons to pursue a film career, a decision that led to significant professional hurdles. Instead of the dramatic leads she sought, Riley found herself plagued by typecasting repeatedly hired to play similar country bombshell or Daisy May roles in projects like Hee Haw and Dusty's Trail. She later admitted that while these roles paid the rent, getting out of the rural rut was a career-long struggle that often overshadowed her dramatic range. Jeannine Riley eventually stepped away from Hollywood in the early 1980s to pursue a completely different path, spending over 2 decades focused on spiritual studies and becoming a certified meditation teacher. She later returned to the public eye as an author and motivational speaker, sharing her wisdom on aging and fulfillment. At 85, she is an active advocate for women's empowerment, promoting her book, The Bolder Woman, It's About Time, and encouraging older generations to pursue their dreams with the same tenacity she once applied to her own career. Elvia Allman as Selma Plout, born on September 19, 1904, in Enochville, North Carolina. The veteran character actress was already a seasoned radio and voiceover star before joining the cast of Petticoat Junction. At the age of 62, Allman took over the role of Selma Plout, the nosy, interfering nemesis to Kate Bradley, becoming a permanent fixture in Hooterville. Her portrayal of the pushy matriarch constantly scheming to marry off her daughter and meddle in the affairs of the Shady Rest Hotel provided the perfect comedic foil to the show's wholesome tone. Her sharp delivery and imposing presence made Selma a memorable antagonist who audiences loved to hate, cementing her status as one of the quintessential sitcom busybodies of the 1960s. In stark contrast to the abrasive and shrewish character she famously played, Elvia Allman was known off-screen as a kind, generous, and soft-spoken woman. While Selma Plout was busy creating conflict, Allman dedicated her personal time to charity, volunteering for Meals on Wheels, and teaching English to underprivileged children. Her professional life, however, was often defined by the battle axe archetype. From the stern candy factory boss in I Love Lucy to the domineering wife in radio's Blondie, she was heavily typecast as the aggressor. As television roles slowed down in the 1970s, she faced the common struggle of aging character actors and pivoted to a second career as a real estate agent to support herself, famously finding a home for Mary Tyler Moore. Elvia Allman remained active in the industry well into her later years, eventually bringing her career full circle. Her final credit was reprising the voice of Clarabelle Cow, a role she had originated for Disney in the 1930s for the 1990 film The Prince and the Pauper. She passed away in Santa Monica, California on March 6, 1992, at the age of 87 from pneumonia. Her death marked the loss of one of Hollywood's most versatile dialecticians and enduring character actresses, leaving behind a legacy that spanned the golden ages of radio animation and television. Frank Cady as Sam Drucker. Born on September 8, 1915 in Susanville, California, the Stanford-educated actor found his defining gig not in academia, but in the fictional town of Hooterville. At the age of 48, Cady took on the role of Sam Drucker, the general store owner, postmaster, and constable on Petticoat Junction. He became the grounding force of the show, playing the sane, reliable, and multitasking businessman amidst the rural whimsy of the Cannonball train and the shady Rest Hotel. His portrayal was so integral to the television landscape of the era that he holds the unique distinction of playing the same character across 3 interconnected sitcoms simultaneously: Petticoat Junction, Green Acres, and the Beverly Hillbillies, making Sam Drucker a ubiquitous and beloved figure in 1960s pop culture. While Sam Drucker was the quintessential small-town gossip and rural jack-of-all-trades, Frank Cady was a polished professional with a degree in speech and drama, known for his intellect and distinct lack of a country accent in real life. This contrast was stark. The man who played the ultimate local yokel was actually a sophisticated urbanite. However, his immense visibility in the role led to significant typecasting. He was so thoroughly identified as the man in the apron and visor that shedding the Hooterville persona proved difficult. When CBS executed its infamous Rural Purge in 1971, canceling all the country-themed shows despite their high ratings to attract a more urban demographic, Cady found himself abruptly out of the regular television rotation, facing the challenge of finding work in an industry that had aggressively turned its back on the genre he helped define. Frank Cady continued to act sporadically following the end of the rural sitcom era, appearing in films like Zapped and reprising his famous role for the 1990 television movie Return to Green Acres. He eventually retired from acting to focus on his personal life, moving to Wilsonville, Oregon, to be closer to his daughter and grandchildren. He enjoyed a long, quiet retirement filled with golf and hiking, largely stepping away from the Hollywood limelight. Frank Cady passed away at his home on June 8, 2012, at the age of 96 from natural causes. He was preceded in death by his wife of 68 years, Shirley, and left behind a legacy as one of the most reliable and recognizable character actors in television history. Pat Woodell as Bobbie Jo Bradley. Born on July 12, 1944 in Winthrop, Massachusetts, the actress stepped into the rural charm of Hooterville when the series premiered in 1963. At the age of 19, Woodell portrayed the original Bobbie Jo Bradley, the bookish and intellectual middle sister of the shady Rest Hotel clan. As part of the famous trio of Bradley sisters, she became an integral part of a ratings juggernaut, contributing to the show's wholesome image and even showcasing her vocal talents in memorable musical episodes such as The Ladybugs, that capitalized on the cultural trends of the era. While Bobbie Jo was depicted as a content-studious country girl, Woodell found herself creatively stifled by the role, feeling that she and her on-screen sisters were often treated merely as human props rather than serious actors. Driven by a desire for more substantial work and a singing career, she made the difficult decision to leave the hit series after just 2 seasons, a move that carried significant professional risk. In a stark departure from her wholesome Hooterville image, she later struggled against typecasting by pivoting to low-budget exploitation cinema, starring in gritty cult classics like The Big Doll House. A drastic transition that highlighted the difficulty of shedding the girl-next-door persona in Hollywood. Pat Woodell eventually stepped away from the entertainment industry entirely in the mid-1970s to pursue a completely different path, co-founding a successful business consulting firm and stepping out of the public eye. She lived a quiet life away from the cameras in her later years, seemingly content with leaving her Hollywood days behind her. Pat Woodell passed away at her home in Fallbrook, California, on September 29, 2015, at the age of 71, following a battle with cancer. Though her time on the train at the Shady Rest was relatively brief compared to the show's total run, she remains fondly remembered by fans as the original smart and musical Bradley sister. Charles Lane as Homer Bedloe. Born on January 26, 1905 in San Francisco, California, the prolific character actor stepped into his most recognizable villainous role on Petticoat Junction midway through his career. At the age of 58, Lane's portrayal of Homer Bedloe, the sneering and heartless vice president of the C&FW Railroad, became the show's definitive antagonist. His relentless scheming attempts to scrap the beloved Hooterville cannonball provided the perfect source of conflict for the series, making him a character audiences loved to hate, and establishing him as the archetype for the cold corporate bureaucrat. Despite his convincing turn as a miserly curmudgeon, Charles Lane was known in real life as a warm, witty, and kind man who was deeply respected by his peers, standing in stark contrast to the villainous Bedloe. While he never struggled for work, accumulating hundreds of credits, he faced the professional hurdle of severe typecasting. His sharp features and stern delivery meant he was almost exclusively hired to play tax assessors, judges, and mean-spirited executives. This pigeonholing often prevented him from showcasing a wider dramatic range or playing sympathetic leading roles, resigning him to a career of brief, albeit memorable, character parts. Charles Lane remained a dedicated professional and a staunch advocate for actors' rights as a founding member of the Screen Actors Guild, working well into his centenarian years. He continued to appear in television and film for decades, famously claiming he still smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, well into his 90s. His final acting credit came as a voiceover narrator at the age of 101. Charles Lane passed away at his home in Santa Monica, California on July 9, 2007, at the age of 102 from natural causes. At the time of his death, he was noted as one of the last living survivors of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, ending a career that spanned nearly the entire history of motion pictures. Mike Minor as Steve Elliott. Born on December 7, 1940 in San Francisco, California, the actor and singer joined the established cast of Petticoat Junction during its 4th season. At the age of 25, Minor took on the role of Steve Elliott, a dashing crop duster who crashed his plane near the Shady Rest Hotel and eventually married the character Betty Jo Bradley. His portrayal brought a romantic lead and musical element to the series, revitalizing the show's dynamic. The on-screen romance became a massive cultural event when it crossed over into reality, leading to a highly publicized television wedding that mirrored his real-life marriage to co-star Linda K. Henning, cementing his place in 1960s pop culture. Beneath the wholesome romantic veneer of Steve Elliott, Mike Minor navigated a complex professional landscape heavily influenced by family connections. As the son of producer Don Feddersen and the son-in-law of show creator Paul Henning, he often faced the stigma of nepotism, which contrasted sharply with his character's self-made, easygoing image. His career faced a significant hurdle with the infamous Rural Purge of 1970, where CBS abruptly canceled its country-themed shows, leaving him without the vehicle that made him a star. Additionally, The fairy tale narrative constructed around his life crumbled when his marriage to Henning ended in divorce in 1973, creating a painful personal struggle that was inextricably linked to his public persona and professional past. Mike Minor found subsequent work in the world of daytime television, landing recurring roles on soap operas such as The Edge of Night, As the World Turns, and All My Children during the 1970s and 1980s. However, he eventually drifted away from the entertainment industry, living a much more obscure and private existence in his later years compared to the height of his sitcom fame. Mike Minor passed away on January 25, 2016, at the age of 75 due to complications from cancer. His passing was noted with sadness by fans of classic television, marking the end for an actor whose life once inextricably blurred the lines between sitcom fantasy and reality. June Lockhart as Dr. Janet Craig. Born on June 25, 1925 in New York City, the daughter of acting legends Jean and Kathleen Lockhart had already established a prolific career in film and television before arriving in Hooterville. At the age of 43, she took on the role of Dr. Janet Craig, stepping into the series Petticoat Junction during its final seasons to fill the void left by the passing of the show's original star, Benaderet. Her portrayal of a female physician was remarkably progressive for the era, bringing a sense of sophisticated authority and modern professionalism to the rural setting of the Shady Rest Hotel. Her presence helped anchor the show during a difficult period of transition, proving that the series could evolve while maintaining its heart. While Dr. Craig was a grounded professional in a sitcom environment, June Lockhart was an urbane, highly articulate woman with a deep, lifelong passion for space exploration and actual science. This stood in charming contrast to the often farcical nature of the show's plot lines. In reality, she was so well regarded by the scientific community that she became an associate member of NASA and was later awarded their Exceptional Public Achievement Medal. Her tenure on the series was marked by the professional challenge of joining a tight-knit cast following the loss of their beloved matriarch, a transition that was emotionally complex for the actors. Furthermore, her time at the Shady Rest was cut short by the infamous rural purge of 1970/71, where networks abruptly canceled high-rated country-themed shows to chase a younger demographic, leaving the cast to navigate a rapidly changing industry. June Lockhart remained a tireless and beloved figure in Hollywood for decades, famously becoming one of the few actresses to hold 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for her work in Lassie and Lost in Space. She continued to act well into her late 90s and remained a vibrant, sharp-witted presence at NASA events and fan conventions. June Lockhart passed away on October 23, 2025 in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 100. Her death marked the end of an extraordinary era, as she was one of the last surviving stars of television's golden age. She was laid to rest at Holy Cross Cemetery, leaving behind a century-long legacy of grace, intelligence, and a pioneering spirit that reached from the sound stages of Hollywood to the stars themselves. Smiley Burnette as Charley Pratt. Born on March 18, 1911 in Summum, Illinois, the multi-talented entertainer brought a lifetime of experience in westerns to the rails of the Hooterville Cannonball. At the age of 52, Burnette's portrayal of the Cannonball's engineer became a beloved staple of 1960s rural television, providing the show with its folksy, musical heart. As one half of the comedic duo running the train alongside Rufe Davis, his character was essential to the show's warm atmosphere, utilizing his gravelly voice and distinct comedic timing to create a figure that felt like a genuine artifact of the American West. While Charley Pratt was famously depicted as somewhat lazy and content with the slow pace of the Cannonball, Smiley Burnette was a tireless workaholic and an incredibly astute businessman. Far from the unmotivated character he played, Burnette was a prolific songwriter who composed over 400 songs and a culinary entrepreneur who owned a chain of drive-in restaurants. His career was defined by the inescapable typecasting of being the comic sidekick, a role he perfected alongside Gene Autry as Frog Milhouse. Despite his fame, his time on Petticoat Junction was marred by a silent physical struggle. Unknown to the public and most of the cast, he was battling serious health issues while filming, continuing to work through exhaustion to deliver the comedy his fans expected. Smiley Burnette's time on the show was cut short tragically early. He passed away in Encino, California, on February 16, 1967, at the age of 55 from acute leukemia. His death occurred just days after filming his final scenes for the show's 4th season, shocking his castmates and the viewing public. Following his passing, his character was written out as having retired a respectful exit for a man who had dedicated his life to entertainment. He was interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. Burnette left behind a massive musical legacy, eventually being posthumously inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1971. Rufe Davis as Floyd Smoot. Born on December 2nd, 1908 in Vinson, Oklahoma, the entertainer brought decades of vaudeville and radio experience to his most famous television role. At the age of 54, Davis began his tenure as Floyd Smoot, the genial and musically inclined conductor of the Hooterville Cannonball. His portrayal was integral to the show's rural charm, often highlighting his unique talent for vocal sound effects and comic songs, which helped make the train crew a beloved cultural fixture of 1960s television. While Floyd Smoot was portrayed as a relaxed, small-town railroad man, Rufe Davis was actually a high-energy vocal impressionist and a one-man sound effects department who had honed his craft on intense touring circuits. His time on the show was marred by a deep professional and personal loss when his comedy partner and co-star Smiley Burnette Charley Pratt died in 1967. The loss of their on-screen chemistry made work difficult for Davis, and feeling that the show's dynamic had irrevocably changed, he left the series in 1968, struggling to find the same joy in the role without his counterpart. Rufe Davis continued to perform at county fairs and do voiceover work following his departure from the series, eventually returning for the show's final episode in 1970. However, he did not live to see old age. Rufe Davis passed away in Torrance, California on December 13, 1974, at the age of 66 following a heart attack. He was interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, remembered for bringing a specific brand of auditory comedy to the golden age of rural sitcoms. Which story shocked you the most today? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the shocking secrets and heartbreaking journeys of Hollywood's biggest stars. Stay tuned. There's so much more to uncover.